What's up, everybody? We've got a Full Gear predictions show for you. AEW Full Gear pay-per-view this Saturday night. This is actually my second take at doing this because the first time I tried doing this, the audio didn't actually save properly. That ended up being a little bit of a blessing in disguise because we've seen a couple of things change in the last little bit as far as what this match card is going to look like. So I actually kind of benefit here. And so that hopefully kind of benefits you guys as well. So again, AEW Full Gear this Saturday night on pay-per-view through various subscribers. Before I get into some predictions, just want to encourage everybody to hit the subscribe, hit the thumbs up on YouTube, leave some comments. Feel free to interact with me, talk wrestling. I love talking wrestling with a lot of different people. Feel free to hit me up on Twitter or on Instagram at AngryBeaver1127. As you can see in the bottom left corner there, it's the same for Instagram and for Twitter. A little more active on Twitter than on Instagram, but just feel free to reach out and let me know kind of thoughts and just communicating with the wrestling community. That's how we do this. Like to engage with a lot of different people, different opinions, kind of gives you different perspectives on things. So I love doing that. So feel free, hit me up there on Twitter, on Instagram at AngryBeaver1127. And again, hit the thumbs up, hit the subscribe. It really does help. I love seeing the comments in there too. So let's get into some predictions here though, but we've got a really good match card up here. Quite a few matches on the card. Very much looking forward to these. So let's get into these. On the buy-in, we've got the NWA Women's World Championship match. Actually, the buy-in originally was going to be Orange Cassidy and John Silver. That has been moved to the main card. I'm excited for that match, but we'll get there later. I'm very excited to see not only the NWA Women's World Champion being part of the show, but being defended and with two talents that I really enjoy watching. I was really just kind of getting into NWA when all the stuff with NWA went down between the pandemic and the speaking out movement. But in that time, I did develop quite a fandom for Allison Kay. Also a cool thing that she's from Michigan like I am as well. So a little bit of a local tie there. But I also, have been a fan of Serena Deeb for a while. She's been out of the game for a while and came back fairly recently. But I mean, I remember her with CM Punk and Straight Edge Society. So it is a little different for me to see her with hair because I'm used to seeing her shaved head. But very excited for this match. The NWA Women's Champion, a couple weeks ago, it was Thunder Rosa, and Serena Deeb with the kind of surprising win there, took the win and took the belt from Thunder Rosa. That's a good way to get Serena Deeb over. NWA and AEW, it's not any like official partnership or anything, but they've been, they've been cooperative with each other. I think given that Allison Kay has a lot of track record with NWA, that makes this interesting as well. So the fact that Serena hasn't had the title for very long makes me feel like, yeah, she'd probably keep it. But knowing Allison Kay's history with NWA, knowing how popular she is as well, I could see this very well being a quick run for Serena. And again, that quick run still gets her back into the spotlight because, again, she beat Thunder Rosa. And then obviously Allison Kay and Thunder Rosa have their own history with NWA as well. So I'm going to predict that Serena Deeb's run is a little bit short, but it does, again, put her in a competitive spot there. So when she is with AEW and all of that stuff that goes on there, that still kind of puts her back in the AEW picture as well. So I'm going to say that Allison Kay wins this match. And then I'm very curious to see Allison Kay involved in AEW in the future, if that's what they're planning on doing. A lot of people, if they've not seen Allison Kay's work, they're going to become fans of hers when she gets more involved with AEW, assuming, again, that that's the direction that she goes. AEW's women's division needs to improve, and Allison Kay would be a heck of a way to do that. Again, even with another brand's championship, being in there is going to be a big benefit for AEW because not only is she good, but she can help a lot of those younger talents that are a little less experienced. So I'm going to go with Allison Kay here. But again, Serena's run has been pretty short, so I will not be surprised if I'm wrong there. As I mentioned, Orange Cassidy and John Silver was supposed to be on the buy-in. That has been moved to the main card. And that obviously was replaced on the buy-in with the NWA Women's Championship. I'm very excited that this is on the main card. I'm really, really looking forward to this match. I should also mention that as we go through these matches, I don't know the match card order. So some of these may be a little bit out of order as far as the order of the show. So very, very excited for this match, though, because John Silver and Orange Cassidy are kind of the antithesis of each other. As far as John Silver is this always aggressive, always kind of at 1,000% type of guy. In Orange Cassidy, it's, you know, he's the sloth. He's the guy that doesn't care about anything until you make him care. This is a match that I'm really looking forward to. I think it's going to be very, very physical, which I enjoy that. Because these guys have both shown that they can be very physical. But I think given the dynamic of their characters, with, again, Orange Cassidy being very much that sloth-like character and Silver being very aggressive, 1,000% go, go, go all the time, I think this is going to have some spots where we get some pretty funny moments. And I'm really looking forward to seeing what that looks like. Again, I'm a big fan of both of these guys. Honestly, probably more so a fan of John Silver, because if you watch BTE, it's really, really hard not to love that man. So he's very, very funny. I really enjoy his work. But knowing the trajectory of where these guys have been the last few weeks, I think Silver can kind of afford a loss more than Orange Cassidy has, because we have seen Orange Cassidy lose a couple of title matches recently. We've seen him in some big spots, but I think long-term booking wise, Orange Cassidy benefits way more from a win here than what Silver would suffer from a loss. So I would love to see John Silver win this, but I think the way they're building a lot of this stuff, I think Orange Cassidy is going to be the guy to win this, because I also think that when and if Silver loses this match, it also opens up for more spots for Mr. Brody Lee to kind of, for lack of a better term, abuse Silver, because Silver has been kind of one of the guys that he kind of gets on his case and he seems to bother Mr. Brody Lee a little bit. So I think him losing could piss off Brody Lee. And then obviously you've got something there as well. So I do think Orange Cassidy takes this one. And this is, you know, a personal take. This is, I don't expect this to be match of the night, but personally, I'm not looking forward to too many matches more than I'm looking forward to this one, just because I think the comedic element mixed with the physicality that we can see here, I think has some really, really good potential. I think this match is going to surprise a lot of people, but again, I think Orange Cassidy takes this one. We have the AEW Women's World Championship with Hikaru Shida versus Nyla Rose. Nyla Rose is going to have Vicky Guerrero in her corner. Shida's had this title for a long time, and it hasn't been that impressive of a run. And again, that's not anything against her, but they've been dealing with pandemics. Shida's a little bit harder for promos because the language barriers there, and she does fine when she has her promos, but this women's division has been pretty poorly handled, which is no surprise to anybody, at least with me saying that it's been mishandled. We'd like to see that division handled a little bit better, but I think the fact that Vicky Guerrero is in Nyla's corner, I think that's a chance to also create Nyla as the first two-time women's champion, because she obviously has had the title before. So not a whole lot to really discuss on this one, and it's really just for lack of a build, because these two haven't really been built that properly here. So I'm going to say that Nyla Rose takes the title, and I'm only predicting that just because Shida has had it for quite a while, and I think they're getting to the point where they're saying, okay, let's make a switch, even if it's just for the sake of making a switch. So I'm going to go with Nyla Rose here, but unfortunately, I wish I had more to say here, but this one, again, has not been built that well. Nyla Rose had been off TV for quite a bit, and so had Shida. So this doesn't have a whole lot of build, but I'm going to go with Nyla Rose as the win here. Sammy Guevara is going to take on Matt Hardy in what's called the Elite Deletion match. I don't exactly know what this match is supposed to be. I don't exactly know if it's even a traditional match or a cinematic match. So I'm fully guessing on how all this stuff works. I would like to see Matt Hardy win this one because, again, if it is cinematic, if it's got that deletion type of thing going to it, I would like to see Matt Hardy win a match that's kind of geared towards him. FullGear, no gear puns intended there. But I would like to see Matt Hardy win this one. But given the way that some of this stuff has worked in the past, Sammy Guevara has lost a lot of these matches. This rivalry has not been as good as it should have been. and that's not all Matt Hardy's fault. Sammy got suspended. There was the spot at the last pay-per-view where Matt took that table spot wrong, not by his own mistake, but just by setup mistakes. That was a mess. They've had no crowds because of the pandemic. So Matt Hardy's run in AEW has been pretty brutal here. And again, most of it not to his own fault. But I think if you have Sammy win, that's the young guy getting himself over the older guy. And I wouldn't be surprised to do that. But I think given all of the things that Matt Hardy has had to deal with AEW and with his run here, I think it would be a really good spot to give him the win here, give him kind of that extra show of good faith that, hey, we're not only doing your style of a match, but we're going to let you take it as well. And then you can kind of end all of this issue with Sammy and Hardy, because I think if Sammy wins, I think that this isn't over. And realistically, these guys both need something new. So I think Hardy wins this one, but I will not be surprised if Sammy takes it instead. Another match that isn't for a title, but it does have some stakes involved. Chris Jericho versus MJF. If MJF wins, he is part of the inner circle. There's a lot of layers to how this can go. There's been a lot of rumor out there that if MJF joins the inner circle, that you'll see almost a split within the inner circle where MJF might take over and then it leaves kind of Jericho odd man out. Jericho will turn 50 in about a week, so he will be out of that demo area that he claims to be the demo god of. So it'll be a little bit interesting to see how that story plays out. So I also think that MJF getting a win over Jericho, he's pinning a former world champion. The only really other person that he's lost to is Moxley, and Moxley, by MJF's words and by the rules of the match that those guys had together, Moxley cheated. So realistically, MJF can say, look, I pinned a former champion. I was cheated out by another champion. So I think that gives him some air of legitimacy to going back after that title, because when his last promo addressed Moxley, it wasn't really saying, okay, this is done, I'm going to move on. It was, I'm coming back for this. And I think this can be kind of a unique way to do this. I won't be surprised if we see something where some of the inner circle members like Sammy and Santana and Ortiz cost MJF the match because they've made it very clear that they don't like him. But I also won't be surprised if that was nothing more than a swerve and those guys turn on Jericho because they see MJF as the quote unquote next Jericho. That wouldn't surprise me at all either. So I'm very excited to see where this goes. Honestly, I hope that the match is physical. I hope that it's good, but I hope that it's under 10 minutes. I don't need to see this be a 20-minute match. Jericho at his age doesn't need to be doing those super long matches. And I think if MJF can get a win over Jericho in under 10 minutes, I think that serves him pretty well long-term as well. So I'm going to go with MJF here, but I am pretty excited for this match as long as they don't try to make this some 20, 30-minute match. So again, MJF, and I am excited for this one. We got the TNT title between Darby Allin and the champion, Cody. I really, really like both of these guys. Darby Allin is one of my favorite people in AEW. And I'm really sad that he has routinely been given title shots that he's then losing. Now, last night, because I am recording this on Thursday, last night on Dynamite, Cody basically said, Darby, I'm the only guy that even wanted you here. So the idea that I don't want to see a title on you is nonsense because I brought you here because I knew you could be good. But then he also mentions, but listen, this is my title. I'm not losing this to you. And realistically, I think that sets up the question of, ooh, is Cody willing to put Darby over himself? And I think that's a fair question. But I think given that Cody just got that title back, I don't see him being willing to drop it this quickly, but I would love to be wrong here because, again, Darby's had a couple of title shots. If you make him lose this one, the next time he gets one, if it's soon, I'm not going to buy it at all because he's lost so many. So if they put the title on Darby, I'll be very, very happy because, again, he's earned it. He's had a couple of these shots that he's lost, and at a certain point, you need a guy to get over in order to make him a legitimate title contender. So I would love to see Darby Allin win because I think he benefits more than what Cody loses here. But I think given that Cody just got that title back, I'm going to go with Cody, but I would love to be wrong here. With a shot at the AEW World title on the line, Kenny Omega and Hangman Adam Page are going to take each other on. This is a story that's building for basically a year. And I got to be honest, I love the fact that this came out in an organic way. This wasn't a case of these guys started feuding with each other and then they said, all right, here's a match, which would have been fine. But we see that so many times that this is a little bit refreshing to see that these two guys were in a title contender tournament on opposite sides of the bracket, and they just happened to both get to the end, proving that when they were those tag champions, it was because they both were that good. I really like how this has all been built. These guys have not really touched each other the whole last year. So I am very excited to see what this looks like. Hangman has been kind of in his drinking phase for a while. Kenny is obviously very much not a drinker, and he's kind of had his little hints of heel turn lately. And he's kind of basically been saying, I'm sick of putting other people over. Now it's my time. I came here to be a star. Now it's my turn. I'm sick of putting other people over. I'm sick of worrying about other people. So I think those are unique stories to collapse or to collide here. But I think given the situation of what's happening, I think it makes more sense to have Hangman lose this match and then continue with that whole struggle of I lost this match for the title a year ago. Now I lost another shot to go back after it. And he mentioned this on Dynamite, that he's trying to create redemption for himself. So as much as I said, I don't like how Darby Allin keeps losing titles, this is different for Hangman because his last title shot was over a year ago. He also had a tag title run that was very impressive in between. So I think this is a little bit different because this will be Hangman's way of saying, I was this close to the top twice and I failed both times. I think that opens you up for a unique story. And I think, again, Kenny's absolutely right. And he was brought here to be one of the guys. At a certain point, he needs to at least have a title shot, probably winning the title. So for that reason, I think Kenny wins this one, and I'm very happy to see this match being billed this way because, again, it is a little bit different. It's a little refreshing to see that this was something where we saw this match coming, but the way we got here was a little bit different, and I really, really like that. I appreciate that AEW did it this way. And again, when the brackets came out, we all knew that this was going to be what happened. But just because it's predictable doesn't mean that it's bad. So very excited to see this match. But again, I think Kenny takes this one, and then I'll be very excited to see how this goes moving forward. The tag team titles are going to be on the line as well. There's some stipulations here beyond just the titles, and it is a little bit of a repeat of what Cody did with the AEW title last year. And knowing the Young Bucks and Cody and Kenny, their whole, elite grouping, they're kind of taking a page from something that they've already done. And they're saying that if the Young Bucks lose this match, they can never be tag team champions ever again. FTR has not had the belts for that long. Given what you brought them in with, I don't think you take the titles off of them. So the idea that the Young Bucks will never have the AEW tag team champions or championships seems insane to me. But again, if we look at what Cody did with the AEW title, all they really did was created a spot for Cody to elevate the TNT title, which is essentially your television title. I think the Young Bucks can do the same thing with another tag title. And again, there hasn't been any real substantiated things to suggest this, but AEW's tag team division is incredibly deep. The idea of having a TNT title for the tag division, I think that that's a unique opportunity. There's also been rumor and discussion from people online, and again, online is not AEW, but there's been discussion of a 6-man tag title as well with some of these trios. Now, the Young Bucks, it's just 2 of them. I'm well aware of that, but they have their ties with Kenny. They have their ties with Cody. They've got tons of other people in the locker room that they are friends with. I could very much see that being something that they did as well. So whether it's a TV tag titles, a TNT tag titles, or a six-man tag titles. I think you can get the Young Bucks a second tag title there that's not the AEW ones. But by putting it on them, it creates that air of legitimacy that says, yeah, AEW tag titles are a thing, but these are just as good. Cody mentioned last night with the TNT title that he made it the A title, which means he's saying it's better than the AEW title. The Young Bucks can do the exact same thing with a second tag title, whatever that would look like for AEW. So I think FTR takes this one, but again, the after effects, that's the one thing I do love about a lot of these matches with what AEW is doing is I'm very excited to see the match, but I'm almost more so excited to see the fallout of what happens afterwards. And to me, that's quality storytelling. So I love that. So again, I'm going to go with FTR. But again, I'm really interested in the fallout. Jon Moxley is going to take on Eddie Kingston for the AEW World Championship. This is going to be an I Quit match. And if you watched Dynamite last night and you didn't go, man, after that promo between these two guys, you either had the mute off or you have no emotions. They killed it on this promo last night to the point where I'm glad that my audio for the first take of this didn't take so that I can re-review the preview for this one, because man, I am so much more excited for this. Moxley was talking about Kingston's mom. They were talking about all of their track record, their history. Kingston and Moxley even got to the point where they said they were going to kill each other. This is going to be brutal. It's going to be bloody. It's going to take a long time. And if you remember last year at FullGear, Moxley and Omega had that brutal after the match or after the pay-per-view was done match that a lot of people said, whoa, that's almost too far. I think we might see almost the same type of deal here, because getting either of these guys to say I quit is going to be really, really hard. Now, that being said, someone's going to have to say I quit. I think that they are going to do this better as far as the I quit stuff than what we saw with Roman and Jay. I'm not saying it will be a better match, because the Roman and Jay stuff was really, really good storytelling there. I really liked what they did here. But I think as far as physicality goes, this will be more physical. I think you'll also see a better ending than one of these guys beating up somebody else, making the other person say I quit. That was one issue that I took with the Jay and Roman stuff. But again, this is a different company, different match. Everything else here is different, other than the fact that Moxley and Roman Reigns used to be partners. But I think the way that this match is going to go is going to be very brutal, very bloody, very violent, and I'm very, very excited for that. Both of these guys have CZW roots. These guys are very aggressive. This is going to be really, really fun if you are a fan of brutality, which personally I am. So very much looking forward to this. But again, who's going to win? I'm going to predict a big upset here, and I'm going to say that Eddie Kingston is going to win this match because of a couple of reasons. One, Moxley's had the title for a long time, but the only two people that have been title holders for AEW for this specific title and the TNT title are former WWE competitors. Eddie Kingston is not that, right? Eddie Kingston was in NWA. He's been in CZW. He's been in a bunch of other different companies. This is going to be your first not WWE champion. And I think the idea of Eddie Kingston saying I quit, realistically, it's a little less believable than Moxley, right? And that's not a slight against Moxley. It's just I can see his character doing it, because one of the things that they mentioned last night was that Moxley told Eddie Kingston's mom on her deathbed that he would take care of Eddie. If he feels like he's being too brutal, I could almost see a case of Moxley breaking down and saying, I quit because I promised your mom that I would take care of you, and I can't, for lack of a better term, I can't kill you. I could see that being the way that they go with this. I wouldn't hate that. But I also think that you give Eddie the title. That's your first non-WWE competitor as your title holder. That is a big deal. I also think that Eddie can be that heel that you need for a guy like MJF. MJF is one of the biggest heels in the business, but you have a unique opportunity to put Eddie Kingston as the heel to MJF. Eddie Kingston might be one of the only guys that can be a heel compared to MJF because of how aggressive and brutal that guy can be. So I think long term looking at this, I could see a situation where Eddie wins this match and then he becomes the heel to MJF's face. And again, AEW doesn't always do face and heel. They're a little bit more, vague about that stuff, and I appreciate that. But I think Eddie can be the guy that you go, man, he's a jerk compared to MJF, and there's not a whole lot of people that can do that. So I won't be surprised if Moxley wins this because he's already beaten Kingston for the title before. But I think that I quit stipulation opens you up to a unique finish here. And again, you've got to think what happens after the title switches. Who is Eddie going to face? I think him facing a guy like Omega would be cool. But I also think that facing a guy like MJF allows you a unique dynamic here as well. So I'm going to go with Eddie Kingston in a shocker to end the pay-per-view. I do think that this will main event because of the I quit stipulation, because of the brutality that we'll probably see, and because if you're going to have a or if you're going to have a title switch and it's a shocking title switch, ending the pay-per-view that way can be a unique way to do that. So again, just want to encourage everybody to watch FullGear this weekend, Saturday night, 8 o'clock p.m., the buy-in and all that stuff. So I want to encourage everybody to watch this. Also want to encourage everybody to hit the thumbs up, hit subscribe, hit me up on Twitter or on Instagram at AngryBeaver1127. I also want to thank you guys for watching this very much. I really do appreciate it. So again, just feel free to do all those things that I just mentioned. And until the next time there is a pay-per-view, whether it's Impact, whether it's AEW, whether it's WWE, I will be here with predictions. Again, I appreciate all of you watching. Until next time, though, enjoy the wrestling. We are out.